Hello and welcome, Mark here, and in this episode we're going to take a look at the half mock rib. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of a rib effect there, plain on the back, but still an interesting effect. Now this stitch is a multiple of 2 plus 1, but of course when you make your foundation chain you start with an even number. Now we create this stitch by working around the post of the stitch to bring it up to give it that effect. And we in the UK on the patterns call it a relief stitch. Why they call it a relief stitch, I do not know. I always refer to it as a raised stitch. And the abbreviations for this is RFTR, which is of course is the relief front treble, and the RBTR, which is the opposite side, so that is the relief back treble stitch. And as you can see, it does make a lovely half rib effect. So with all that said and done, let's get crafting, shall we? Right, I have some DK weight yarn here in this lovely lavender colour. Just make a slip knot, and I'm going to make a foundation chain of about, I think, 14. 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we are. There we are. I've chained 14. Just a small sample today, just to show you how it's worked. I like to go into the back bumps, but it's not necessary. But we'll just work into it as the normal way. And the foundation row for this is working half trebles. So you go into the third chain from the hook, you go 1, 2, 3, up the yarn, and make a half treble, and then you just work a half treble into every stitch, sorry, every chain of your foundation chain, and you just work that all the way down your row. I did forget to mention that I'm using a 4.0mm hook. Don't know if you can see that. So you don't get bored sitting there watching me work this. I will see you when I get to the end of this row. And there we are, foundation chain row done, and we have 13 stitches on here, because that's what we need an odd number. We chain 2 and turn, or turn and chain 2, whichever, so that counts for that stitch. So you miss that stitch altogether, and in this first full stitch here you make a raised treble. So you need to yarn over and come in from the back out to the front, over the stitch, and back through to the back. Grab the yarn and pull it through, and then you work a treble in the normal way, and that is that stitch taken. So then in this stitch we just work a normal treble into the next treble. We work a raised stitch, of course, so we go round from the back to the front, over the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, and then complete the treble in the normal way. In the next stitch you just work a standard treble. So one more. See, that stitch is taken from there, so you miss that one and you go into that one. So yarn over first, from the back to the front, over the stitch, back to the back, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, and you work the treble in the normal way. And this is how we work. And there we are, that's the next stitch. Can be a bit confusing sometimes, there you go, especially when you work in this row, so take your time with it, don't rush, make sure you're getting the right stitches. And then we go around this one, so in from the back, over the stitch, back to the back, grab the yarn and pull it through. And the next stitch is just a normal treble. Oh, I've only gone through one loop. I ended up going through the front loop there. And then you got your relief treble there. You'd be doing one more. And then to finish the row, you work a half treble into the top of the turning chain. And there you go. There we are. And that's the effect you get. So this row, row 2, is the easiest of them. It's a 2 row repeat. I don't know if I mentioned that. So now we chain 2. We missed that stitch at the base of the chain because that's already taken. So now we're going to be doing a relief treble front. And there you are. That's how it's done without explanation. The second stitch is like that. So your repeats are really raised stitch, so it's round, yarn over. Now this time you go from the front to the back, then around the stitch and back out to the front, wrap the yarn and pull that through. This is the easiest row because you're working them into the front so you can see it better. And I'll say why this isn't actually the row 1, you know, it would be easier. But that's how the pattern's written. So we just continue that, yarn over, so we go to the back, round the stem of the stitch, so it looks like that at the back. So you go through it, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then work the treble in the normal way. And we do a normal treble in the next stitch, a raised treble into the stitch after that, normal treble, a raised treble, let's get a bit more yarn there, and then of course to finish off into the top of the turning chain you work a half treble. Sometimes it's a bit tough to get into those turning chains, And there you go, that is row 2 complete. So it's only ribbed on one side, but you're still working both the stitches, working front and back depending on what side you are on. We'll just repeat row 1 and 2 again, and then you should be able to use this stitch for all sorts of things. They can be used for cuffs, for hats, scarves, should I say sleeve ends, mittens, that kind of thing. So we'll just go back now and do row 1 and 2 again as a recap, just so you understand how this works. Right, so first of all, we can turn and chain 2, or chain 2 and then turn, whichever. Now row 1 is working into the back, so we have to go so I do that one without explanation, just so you can see the movement. And this is a normal treble. The relief treble is called going into the back, over the stitch, and back through to the back. Grab the yarn. Oh, and I've lost it, look. So easy to do this with it when you're working into the back. There you go. You just have to twist your hook to keep hold of that loop. And work the treble in the normal way. So again, from the back to the front, over the stitch, back through to the back, grab the yarn, use the hook to pull that yarn through, and there we are. And this is row 1. And then in the turning chain, some patterns do tell you to put a treble in there, but I prefer to work a half treble because that gives it a more neater edge, and you don't get that big hole that you get with a chain 3. So that was row 1. So now we turn and we will do row 2 again, and then it said row instead of row. So again, chain 2, and row 2s are easier because you're working at the front. You can see the stitches, so it's much easier. And you just go from front to back, around the stitch, and back through to the front, yarn over, pull that yarn over through, and then finish the treble in the normal way. And then work a standard treble in the next one, a raised treble. So again, from the front to the back, from the back to the front, and there you go. Needed a bit more yarn there. We'll just bring the camera down just a little bit more. That way you can see it a little bit better. I never thought about that, bringing the camera down a little bit closer rather than zooming. And this is your raised stitch. This is how you work. Of course, end the row in the top of the turning chain. There's only 2 chains. Yarn over. Try and get 2 loops at the hook. The chain, should say. Yarn it over and go through all 3 loops in one go, because that's it, it's a half treble. So there you go. and that is the half mock rib, using what we call the relief trebles. Creates a lovely texture on the back. I think that's quite pretty. Well, that's what we're working for the front. I think that's it for today. Yes. So, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe. And until next time, here are Marks Make Stitches. Bye.